is how you pull, and this is what you do. Fundamentally, at the core, you need to actually do it. Fundamentally, there's been so many guys I've coached who, like, they would have issues, and then I'd say to them, like, bro, actually do it. It's not enough to just like have the techniques down in your head. Fundamentally, at the core, you try to take the woman back. If you don't actively do it, it won't happen. So this is something to remember, just that mindset. Take action. Do.
Oh, yeah.
Take action.
That is so true. Even to this day, where I would like to think like I'm pulling a lot, still I'm just like, oh my God, is she going to do it? Is she going to do it? Like, often you don't know until you just like, and we'll give you like the techniques for a smooth pull. But yeah, until you're like, all right, just come. Like, I'm a lot of the time I ain't sure whether she's going to come or not. But if you can do it in a like assertive, smooth way, you're good to go. And for sure, you still feel that fear, like, oh, what if she doesn't want to? But what Kieran said is absolutely true. And we'll talk about what happens if you pull the trigger too fast and how you can react and bounce back from that later on. So just to make it clear, I think like for the topic of the call, like how to pull, that's kind of like two separate topics. One is how to be like, make her think you're awesome enough to want to go home with you. But the other one is kind of like the logistics of pulling her home in a smooth way that doesn't make her feel like a promiscuous hussy. And that's what we're going to focus on today. And we'll talk about why it's important not to make her feel like that later on as well. And we, like I said, we're going to be talking about like from a first date situation and from the bar or the club as well. Yeah. And just to reiterate, like this class is in session and this is the open class. We've got a chat function for you to drop your questions. Like some good questions would be like, oh, what would you do in this situation, blah, 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 and I'm trying to pull and it didn't work. Because I mean, there are so many, especially in like a bar or nightclub, there are so many like ways that like obstacles that could possibly like fuck it up for you. Like I've been cock blocked or nearly cock blocked in so many ways over the years. It's going to be impossible to talk about them all on this call. But if there are any situations which are like frequently tripping you guys up, then that's what these calls are for like a Q&A. And we'll have a general Q&A like after like the main content as well. But the first thing I want to say, whether you're going out to a first date or to the bar or a club, you need to prepare. You need to prepare like an excuse for the two of you guys to go back to your place. And we'll talk about good excuses later. And also how you're going to get there. Okay? When you're like dilly-dallying, being unsure about how to get to the place you're trying to go to, that is a great way to botch a pull. What happens in these situations? Basically, the momentum dies, the fun dies. She starts to, instead of being like caught up in the fun and the emotions of the situation, she starts to think logically. And normally in that logical situation, she thinks it's probably sensible that she wants to go home alone without you. Okay, so this is why you need to have like a real smooth route home and excuse prepared. Okay, because that's what keeps her up in like the excitement of like the date or the night out. As soon as it's not as exciting and fun for her, like just everything becomes flat, and then she just feels like women are very emotional. She's more likely to feel like she doesn't want to do it. Right.
Another thing as well, another thing to add to that as well. So as well as the fact that once you've actually started, once you don't know what you're doing, then that takes her out of the fun. That's terrible. But then there's also the fact as well that if you don't really know where to go to get home, like let's say you're walking back and you get lost and you're not entirely sure or something like that, something which sounds rational enough, but at the end of the day, your masculinity now drops as well. You know, you're now actually less attractive. It's like, what is attractive and will keep us swept up in that whole emotion is, oh, he knows exactly where we're going and you just take her. once all of a sudden you're having to figure out specifically what to do, then as Joe said, she's now back in her logical mind, and logically should she be coming home with this guy? But then also this guy who logically she's not sure she should be going home with is now less attractive as well. So you have to just know where you're going to go.
Safe.
Even if you don't actually know where you're going to go, look like you know where you're going. Just seriously. Just like look like it. Even if you got no clue, just look like you know where you're going, and then just try and figure it out on the way. Look, back to you.
Yeah. We'll talk about baby stepping later on. I mean, most of you guys probably you live in the same house every day. Like you probably go to the same bars every weekend when they were open, or the same date location. So you should really have no excuse not to have this down. For me, who always traveling around and a bit nomadic, it's a bit more effort, but I always do it because it just makes everything so much easier. And we'll talk about good excuses and the ways to do it later on. What I want to talk about now is in the bar and the club, dealing with a girl's friends. This is perhaps like the biggest obstacle that's gonna strike you in the nightclub. And we're gonna be talking about dates later on, but for now we're talking about this. Like if you bump into a girl in a club, she's on her own, you need to know, like, she's not there on her own. Do you know how rare it is for a woman to be in a nightclub on her own? It never happens. Okay? So within a few seconds of meeting that girl, I will ask her, who are you here with? All right? And you want to be prepared for that, like straight away. Okay? And what I mean by be prepared straight away is as soon as one of that girl's friends finds her, you need to immediately be turning your attention completely to that person and be entertaining them now, okay? Straight away, because otherwise she is going to, the friend is going to be like, oh, here she is, Susie, talking to some random bald guy. We need to go, Susie. All right, so honestly, in many occasions, you only have like a few seconds to win the friend over before like, fuck this guy, she's coming with me, okay? Something that I say like a cringe-worthy amount of times because it's so effective, I'll just yell, like I'm kind of yelling now, like, where have you been? We were worried sick. That is a line like I use all the time when the friend just arrives, because that communicates, oh, I've been talking to Susie for a long time. We've been talking about you. So I'm her friend, all right? Okay, it's a funny line, and now she's kind of like in the conversation. She'll probably tell you where she's been or something. You're kind of good to go. And even better, hopefully you have been talking about her friends, because then when the friend comes and it's like, oh yeah, I heard that you guys work together and she's much better at her job than you, or something like that. Now, but all of a sudden you're like, oh man, he knows about me already. Susie must like him to be revealing those sorts of things. Let's give this guy a chance.
Something I want to add. It is incredibly important that her friends like you. It's really, really, really important, because it's her friends that are going to decide whether or not it's okay for her to go home with you. It's her friends who decide if it's okay for her to spend any time with you in the club. All of that is down to her friends. Like if she likes you but her friends hate you, she's going to choose her friends over you. So even let's say she's unsure. If she's kind of unsure about you but her friends love you, that is going to do it for her. She will then go, well, if my friends like this guy, then this guy must be amazing. So when you're meeting girls in clubs or anywhere really, any kind of social environment where their friends are also going to be there, you might think that by speaking to the friends, you're not actually talking to her, and therefore you're wasting your time because you're not attracting her. But that's actually not true. The time that you spend engaging with her friends and making her friends laugh and making them think you're awesome, you're also working on her anyway. You are. Firstly, because her friends like you, so now she realizes that she should like you too. But also, it's like, well, the more her friends like you, the more she's going to want to spend time with you as well. You know, the more she sees that her friends actually
once I know that
you. Go on. Yeah, you go on.
You froze.
Oh, did I? What was the last thing you heard me say?
Only for a few seconds. So, what I was saying is that once I know that a girl is into me, I'm just focusing on making the friends like me. Because this part is kind of like done now. But like you said, the friends thing is so important that are just like, now I'm just going to focus almost like 90% on the friends. I also wanted to share some like little tricks to get like a whole group like engaged with you. I mentioned some of these on last week's call. Just kind of like questions you can ask the whole group, which they tend to respond really well to. Like, how do you know each other? If it's a pair of friends, who's the leader? Like, you can make jokes about how like girl groups, they always have like a leader, which is actually true.
I sometimes ask them who they think would win a fight to the death. That's a good one.
That's even better. Yeah, I can imagine that only ever being funny. Yeah. Again, if it's a pair of girls, like, oh, what's your favorite thing about this one over here? All right. And like I said last week, that only ever ends where it's either funny or like it's nice and they hug each other. It just lifts the emotions up and up and up. Now, this kind of leads me to like the options, because unless they're really kinky, like you can't take the friends to have them watch you pull home. Not all the way to the bedroom anyway. So your options are really the 4 main options, unless you can think of any others. But they are like, just basically make everyone love you so much that the friends give you permission to pull. Yeah, just pull her. All right. That's probably the best one. That's if you can pull it off, like that is the one that's gonna lead to good times the most often. Another option is like you isolate with your girl that you like, and then you kind of like sneak off. You like convince her, your friends will be fine, whatever. That one, okay, probably better than that, but I'm just shortening it for now. Okay. Another one, which a lot of people don't try as that often, as far as I'm led to believe, is you pull the whole group out of the club. Like if like they're not ready to separate yet because they don't know you well enough or whatever, you can pull the whole group maybe to like a fast food place or to get some food, or even pull the whole group to your place. And then you're kind of doing that, hoping that they eventually, like, the friends grow to like you more and trust you more and leave you, or they just get bored and go home. That's not as reliable, but it is an option, and it's definitely better than the 4th option, which is just like take her Instagram or a phone number and try and go on a date with her another day. Because of what we said at the start of the call, like when in between seeing each other, like things could happen to this woman. Her ex could get back in touch, like her cat could die, like she could just decide, I think that guy's a bit weird actually, now I've sobered up, or now I think harder about it. Like all these things could happen. That's gonna ruin the chances of you getting to know each other in like a closer, better way.
Actually, can I add to that? So yeah. As guys, we're very logical. So we go out, we might meet a woman and we swap her details. We go, logically, I'm prepared to meet this girl in the future. She is attractive. Yeah. But when she's met you, assuming that she didn't just, someone's coming into the waiting room, let's just admit, boom. So when she's met you, assuming that she didn't give you her details because she felt pressured and she actually still thinks you're an idiot. She gave you her details because she was just in an emotional state of mind. Like she was emotionally whipped up and like, oh my God, this is amazing. But then the very second you leave, that emotional state starts to dwindle. It does. And then her rational mind starts to kick in. You then message her the next day or 2 days later, 3 days later, and then she's at work or so, she's on her lunch break, she's drinking a cup of coffee, and she's not even remotely where she was when she met you. And in that state of mind, she's then going to think, okay, who is this guy? What do I know about this guy? Maybe I was drunk. Maybe he's a loser. Maybe he's a rapist. All of these sorts of stuff. Now you can still succeed, but your chances of success are actually lower. Once you've got her in that mode, you want to capitalize on that. Don't actually overlook how important that is, like the frame of mind she's actually in when she met you. Another thing I'd like to say is, we got one more person entering. This is fantastic. fan-freaking-tastic. Another thing I want to say, personally for me, I think the first option is the best, the first or the third one. That's what's best for me, because I have found that their friends, it's not so much that they don't want their friend to have sex with some guy or whatever. It's that her friends want to feel seen and understood and like they matter. So they don't want you to waltz in there and then just drag their friend away like they're nothing and then leave them to not have fun. Well, to not have fun with the friend who they wanted to come out with. If you can include them into it so that they feel like, like they're not an afterthought, like they actually matter, then they'll be more than happy. Usually that's what I found. They're not evil, they just want to feel accepted too. So yeah, back to Joseph.
I want to talk about seeding the pool.
Yeah, go on.
This means to talk about it before you actually do it. All right. Yeah. So you would do this on a date, and you do it in the bars or clubs as well. Okay. Let's talk about a date situation. You have decided that maybe you have something cool at your house that you want to show them. Maybe you've got Netflix and there's something really funny, the new like stand-up comedy or whatever. Netflix, the new movie on Netflix. To just bring it up out of nowhere is a lot of pressure on a girl. So you don't really want to do that. What a better idea to do is you kind of bring it up early-ish in the conversation, and it's just an idea that you throw out there to see how she reacts to it.